Chasing after your dreams is hard. And I know when I talk about it, I make it seem so easy. I make it seem like it's the easiest thing that you can do, but it is not. It is exhausting. It is confusing. It is challenging. It can be heartbreaking at times, but I'm still going to tell you, you should chase after your dreams, your passions, your desires, all of it. I think all of us need to be chasing after our dreams and passions. I think one of the myths about chasing after your dreams is that it needs to be exciting. It always needs to be like, ooh, I'm having the time of my life. I'm romanticizing my life, and this is so whimsical, and I love it. But honestly, one, you have to actually create that for yourself. It's not just going to happen just because you want it to. You have to create that. You have to create that for yourself. That whimsy that you desire so much, you are the whimsy. So you got to put on a show for yourself. And the reason why I believe that it is so hard to chase after your dreams, or why it can feel so hard, is because we're so used to being comfortable. And I used to think that being in your comfort zone wasn't a bad thing. And I still don't think it's a bad or negative thing. And I don't like that there's a negative connotation attached with comfort zone. But I do really believe that you have to step out of your comfort zone in order to grow. When something is challenging, that's a good thing. That it means you are growing from it. If there's no resistance, there's no growth. Kind of like when you go and work out and you're sore the next day, that's a good thing. That means your muscles are worked out. You have to keep working those muscles out, and you have to keep adding more and more weight and resistance so that you can continue to grow stronger. It is the same thing with chasing after your dreams. If it's not really all that challenging, but you still love it, that's how it should feel. That's a good thing. So if it's starting to feel like it's impossible, that is okay. That feeling is very much normal, and I think you should lean into it. Like last night, I was actually thinking about this, and I was like, why do I feel so stunted right now? I feel stuck. And I do tend to have this feeling every so often, probably about every quarter. I start to feel like, oh my God, I can't do this. This is too much. And what do I need to do to be better? I start getting those doubtful feelings, and it starts to feel impossible. That is normal, and that is okay. Lean into it. Talk it out with a peer, your boyfriend, your husband, your wife, whoever you need to talk to. So just say, like, this is how I'm feeling right now, and I really don't want to feel this way anymore. What can I do? Or, just talk it out. Sometimes you just need to talk it out. I was able to talk about it with my boyfriend and kind of get to the bottom of how I was truly feeling. It feels impossible typically because you've really never done it before. And sometimes when you're chasing after your dreams, you don't know what the next step is. And that is the thing. You're kind of going in blind when you're chasing after your dreams. Yeah, you can watch videos, you can go on Skillshare to help you out and see how other people did it, but it is still your own personal journey, so it's going to feel different. You're going in blind. You can't see, but you're still going to do it. You don't know what's going to happen. So it just feels so foreign to you, which is why it feels impossible. When it gets difficult, that doesn't mean stop. You might have to pause for a little bit, reframe, and just kind of figure out like what you need to do to make the next step. Definitely lean into the discomfort of it feeling hard and challenging, and don't compare yourself to anybody else. When you are having that vulnerable moment, that is not the time to compare yourself to someone else who may have done it before or who's doing something completely different and you feel like you need to pivot. I always get that itch to pivot. You watch me do it in my second to last video where I was like, I think I want to talk about fashion more, because it got a little hard. It got like, I don't know what to talk about anymore. Now that I know what to talk about and where my mind needs to be when I'm making these videos, it's like, okay, it's challenging still. It's difficult, but I know this is what I need to be talking about. This is I don't want to say calling because that sounds too woo-woo, but kind of like my calling in a way. It is a passion to talk about chasing after your dreams. I do have a story that I want to tell where I was on a plane and I was actually with my parents, but we weren't sitting together. And I was sitting next to this lady, and I think she thought I was a lot younger than I was at the time. I want to say I was like 23 at the time. And she's just like, oh, well, what do you want to do with your life? And I was like, oh, well, I graduated college last, year or whatever, and I want to start my own business. And she was like, oh, those are some really lofty goals you have there. And I was like, are they? Because to me, starting a business doesn't seem that difficult. And, I tell her, well, that's kind of what I did in my degree. There was like a whole like block of courses I had to take for entrepreneurship. So I kind of know what I'm doing. And she's like, oh, well, that's good. It still seems like a lot of work. And I'm thinking like, does she think like I want to own this like big company? Cause that wasn't the vibes then. It never was, actually. And so she was like, well, what do you think you're going to do in the meantime? And I was like, oh, well, maybe, you know, in the meantime, just to make some money up front to pay for the business, I'll work for the government because I live in the DMV area and you can get a government job after college. And she was just like, oh, well, that's a big goal. You want to work for the government? And I was like, well, I don't want to work for the government, but if I have to make some money, I will. And so she was like, well, I mean, before that. And I'm thinking like, I don't know what you want me to tell you. I'm already in the process of starting my business. Like, yes, it is hard, but I'm gonna do it by any means necessary. Like, it's gonna happen. It just may not happen tomorrow. It may not happen in the next year or so. Technically, I did end up opening the business later that year. It wasn't what I wanted to be doing. So I was like, yeah, like, I don't know. I don't know what she wanted me to say. Like, I guess she wanted me to say like, oh, I'm going to work at Starbucks, which I did end up working at Starbucks at some point. But that was well after the fact. I ended up getting a job at a community college. And that was my first big girl job. I loved it until I didn't. And then I moved on to Starbucks because they actually were going to pay me. We're actually going to give me benefits, which you only need 20 hours at Starbucks if you want full benefits, by the way, just so you know. I don't know if that's still the policy, but it was when I was working there. They didn't really understand what her thought process was with me. And I do think she probably thought like I was 18, but I did definitely say that I was graduating college. And she was a little bit older, probably in her 40s at the time. So I do think like she was just like, well, you have to get a regular job before that. And I'm thinking like, I worked while I was in college. I had my first 2 jobs in college while I was going. Like, I was a hustler at one point. Like, I really was. It's just so interesting because, like, yeah, I strive for bigger things. And I don't want to sit at a desk all day. I don't even remember how I responded to her, but I was just like, yeah, I'm going to do those things, though. Like, I mean, it's going to happen. And she was like, wow. And she just kept saying, wow. Wow. And I'm thinking like, I feel like this is normal, especially for like millennials and Gen Z, honestly. Like, we're just all like, well, okay, well, I'm gonna be on YouTube or I'm gonna just start my business. So I was very confused, but whatever. I didn't really know what to tell her. Maybe she just wasn't used to seeing people my age actually have lofty goals like that. I don't think those are lofty. I think those are pretty normal. I know not everybody wants to stay in retail for the rest of their life unless they really like retail. So I just really didn't get her thoughts on that. And yeah, I just wanted to tell that story because it just lets me know that some people think chasing after your dreams really is impossible. And I think that's very unfortunate. And I hate that for them. I don't love that for them. I think that is like, oh, like you're not even gonna like try. And you know, if I was older, I probably would have had a deeper conversation with her and asked her like, oh, are you doing the things that you want to do in life? Which I was pretty sure she was because we're coming back from Miami. So I don't know. But now that I'm older and if that conversation ever comes up, I'll be like, yeah, I'm actually already doing my business and it's lit over here. There's a spider on my ceiling right now. It's moving really fast. Anyway, that's all. I just kind of wanted to share some of those thoughts. If it's hard, if it's challenging, if it feels impossible, that's a good thing. That means you keep on going. Keep pushing yourself. And I promise you'll come out on top. You're always going to come out on top. Even when it feels like you're at the bottom, you're still on top. I know that's a little delusional, but it's okay to be delusional when we're talking about these things because that's the whole point. So that's all for me today. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next one. Bye.